My 10-year-old son's teacher has said a couple of interesting things in class of late. Not long ago, during NAIDOC week, which celebrates the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, she decided to talk about racism in class. She first asked the kids what they knew about racism. From what I understand, they pretty much just sat there blankly, not knowing. She tried to prompt them, but none of them seemed to care. To be fair to the kids, racism pretty much doesn't exist in their lives. Their class, and the school, are extremely multicultural. In their class, there are 4 kids of African descent, 3 with an Indian background, 4 from the Middle East, 5 Asian kids, a couple of Aboriginal kids, as well as some Caucasian Australian kids. I see how they play with one another. I see how my son plays with his multicultural friends. They just don't care about race. All they care about is that you like the same thing I like. If you like talking about Pokemon or Minecraft or like playing tag, my son will be your friend. It doesn't matter to him if you're from Africa or India or male or female or anything else. This is of no concern to him, as it is with all his friends. But the teacher, in her infinite wisdom, wanted to teach them about racism, so she gave them an example. If somebody didn't want to play with Patrick because he has dark skin, would that be nice? No, a couple of the children responded. Okay, so that's racism, isn't it? What if somebody treated Philip differently because he has light skin? Is that racism? The kids replied, yes. Then the teacher said, well, actually, that's not racism. It's not possible for white people to experience racism. My son was a bit confused, so told the teacher, that doesn't make sense. But the teacher continued along that line, telling the class that because white people are the dominant race, they cannot experience racism. At first I thought this was just her crazy thinking, but if you look online, there's quite a few examples of academics who agree with her. Just as a note, their teacher is a white lady in her early 30s. I sometimes wonder whether she would still hold her same views if she was dropped into another country where she was the minority. There are some parts of Detroit, for example, in the US, where not even the police will enter at night. I wonder how a young white lady would fare. When my son was telling me this story, I almost decided to go and complain to the school principal. But then I realised my son didn't buy into any of it, and nor did his friends. My wife is from China, so my son has mixed parentage, and he knows for a fact that people of any skin colour can be treated differently, as he was in China. Because he looked a little bit different, he wasn't considered Chinese, and they often treated him differently because of it. But on the flip side, he's never experienced that kind of differential treatment here in Australia. Anyway, having experienced this himself, he saw straight through what the teacher was saying. Although he's only 10, he saw that the teacher was trying to create some sort of division in class that didn't honestly exist. Even the darker-skinned children commented that it didn't make sense, and they didn't want to be treated differently because of it. So luckily, the kids seem smarter than the teacher, at least when it comes to race relations. Also, as part of NAIDOC week, the students were asked to create some art. Some of the kids, of course, did some Aboriginal dot painting, but one little girl was told by this infinitely wise teacher to tear up her dot painting because she isn't Aboriginal. The teacher honestly told these kids that only Aboriginal kids can do Aboriginal paintings. I feel this was a bit of a setup as it was NAIDOC week, and of course a lot of the kids wanted to try their hand at dot painting. Only letting Aboriginal kids do dot painting is like saying that only Japanese people can do karate, or only Indian people can make curry, or only Italian people can play the violin. It's absurd in my opinion. No, actually, it's racist. Just the other week, the teacher did another strange thing. She made a form for all the children to fill out. It was just about activity preferences or something like that. The form started with your name, and then gender, male, female, or other. After the kids had filled out their forms, she collected them all and started flipping through them. She then commented, "Class, I noticed that all of you have ticked either male or female. Oliver, why did you tick male?" Because I'm a boy." "Okay, what about you, Charlotte? Why did you tick female?" "Because I'm a girl." "Why didn't you tick other?" "Because I don't know what other means." "Okay, so does anybody know what other means?" The class just sat there blankly, so the teacher decided to ask my son, "William, what does other mean?" He also just sat there blankly, but the teacher pressed him to answer. "William, we have male, female and other. What does other mean, do you think?" "I don't know. Robot?" The class burst out laughing, so the teacher proceeded to berate my son and tell him that he's not taking this seriously enough. When he came home from school that day, he told me all about this and said that he honestly still didn't know what she meant, and she never told them what she meant. She just got angry at them for not knowing. I explained it to him what she probably meant, and honestly, he just didn't seem to be that interested. This teacher doesn't just shove social issues down the students' throats, she's also just not a very nice teacher generally. Last week, my son successfully worked out the volume of a shoebox in class, but instead of being praised for his efforts, the teacher got angry at him because he wrote centimetres squared instead of centimetres cubed. How many times have I told you that volume is measured in cubic centimetres, not square centimetres? I should make you do it all again. She also arbitrarily threatened students with timeouts for trivial matters. For example, my son refused to do the gummy bear dance last Friday afternoon before the bell went, so she threatened him with a timeout if he didn't do it. Luckily, my son has reached a point where he just doesn't care what she says anymore. He just pretty much ignores her ramblings. It should be noted that this teacher is only here because the teacher that my son was supposed to have this year mysteriously wasn't allowed to return to work at the start of the year. I suspect somebody refused their jabby jab. And just one more story from last year. On the last day of school, my son's teacher, who was named Simone, decided to tell the class that she used to be named Simon. Obviously, any names I've used in this video have been changed to protect people's privacy. Anyway, the teacher then asked the class what they thought about her changing her name. No response. She then asked the class why they think she changed her name from Simon to Simone. One of the kids said, "Because you didn't like the name Simon?" The teacher said, "Yes, that's partly the reason, but why else do you think?" "I don't know, you like the name Simone." Anyway, the teacher didn't really go any further than that and dismissed the class. After school, my son told me all of this and said that he didn't really understand what she was getting at. I just told him that she probably was trying to say that she grew up as a boy, but now she's a girl. And he just went, "Oh, okay," and ran off and played outside. He honestly didn't think anything of it. As I said before, my son, or any of the kids he hangs out with, honestly do not think in terms of race and gender identity and all of the rest of it. All they care about is hanging out with kids they like who have similar interests. They don't care if you speak Swahili at home or if you don't have a penis or anything else. They just care that you like playing Roblox. And I think that's a good way to be. All these teachers seem to want to push their agendas onto these children, but luckily, at least in my experience, the kids just don't buy into it.